Doing well. To repeat, it's Wednesday, August the 5th, and as I was thinking about what to talk to you about today, I felt strongly impressed that I should talk maybe to only one specific person. I don't know, but I felt that I should talk about fear of passing away. That's an unusual topic, I know. And I don't know why I'm talking about it, other than just to say that I felt I should. So the question that we have to ask ourselves when we think about these things is, do you really want to go to heaven? The story is told of a preacher, and I know we've had things rather similar in class, but the preacher was talking about heaven, and he stopped in the middle of his sermon and said, well, how many of you want to go to heaven? And if you want to go to heaven, please raise your hand. Well, everybody in the audience raised their hands except for one guy, and the one guy was sitting near the front, and so the preacher pointed his finger at the man and said, well, sir, do you mean to say that you don't want to go to heaven? And the man replied, he said, sure, I want to go to heaven, but the way you were asking the question, it sounded like you were getting a busload to leave right now. So again, the question to us is, do we really want to go to heaven? If the Lord was to pull up a bus outside your house right now and invite you to go, and getting on the bus would take you directly to heaven, would you get on the bus? Or would you ask, is there a later bus? Or would you ask, I'm not really ready to go because there are things that I enjoy doing here that I know I won't be able to do there. And I'm not going to cite what all of those may be, but the fact that there's anything that we want to do more than heaven reveals kind of a misunderstanding or some kind of a weakness in our understanding anyway of, well, what heaven is really all about and what the purpose of life really is. The Apostle Paul didn't feel that way. He longed for heaven, and he was ready and he was willing to go at any point. He said in 2 Corinthians 5, he says, now we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. So he likens our body to an earthly tent. Well, I tell you what, earthly tents are at the best temporary. If you've spent much time in tents, you know they've definitely got their weaknesses. I think I'm not likely to spend much time in tents in the future. Many years ago we went camping, and there were campsites down the bottom of in the valley where everybody else was camping, but I chose to be different, and I had two strong young guys to help me, and we carried the tents up the hill. And so we were sitting halfway up the hill looking down on all those other people down there. They were all just the masses, but we were the elite. We were halfway up the side of the mountain. And it was all very well until the middle of the night when we heard a noise outside. And I got over to the tent door. You know how the body's lying in the tent, And I got over to the tent door and I pulled the zipper horizontally and the zipper up, so I had a little flap, and I got my nose down on the ground and looking out, and looking at me was a bear. And I won't tell you the whole story. I'll just comment that not only the tents are have got all sorts of problems, and they leak, and they're temporary, and they're subject to damage. But I'll tell you what, they're not very secure either. And Paul likens this body to a tent. And I'm not making any self-confession here or whatever, but I'll tell you, my tent is not as pristine as once it was, you know. So the reality is that Paul tells us in this that we have a home, a secure home, a home not made with human hands. And you know, there's something about living in the temporary, living in this tent that is a little disconcerting. You know, the fact is that Paul says that in verse 6, he says that therefore we are always confident that knowing while we're at home in the body, or while we're living in the tent, we are absent with the Lord. So Paul is definitely painting the picture here in Corinthians that this tent is not permanent. This tent is just temporary. And in fact, he says that while we're in the tent, we're not with the Lord. We're absent from the Lord. He wrote it. I didn't write it. You know, it's analogous to me. I know that when Denise and I first went to Israel and I started to talk with some Israelis there, one of the things that they expressed was the fact that there are Jewish people in America that shouldn't be in America right now. They should be in Israel. Why? Because Israel's the land of the Jews. Israel has been miraculously provided by God for the Jewish people, and they were sort of almost implying that by not coming to Israel, you're certainly missing out. And so as I started to read this morning, I thought, wow, you know, we are on the verge. We all are on the verge. I'm not saying this is not a prophecy, but I want you to know that this journey from today to eternity is not, it's unknown, but it's unknown in the sense of, wow, a huge adventure awaits us. Denise and I are thinking of taking a trip, and at this moment we don't know where we're going, we don't know when we're going, but I've got some sort of anticipation. But you know, if I was to be told that this trip you are taking is the trip of a lifetime, this is absolutely the most thrilling and exciting thing, that would ramp up my anticipation. You know, and if we're not careful though, we look at this transition from this scene of time to that scene, to not that scene of time, but to eternity, we look at it with a sense of foreboding. But in reality, we are on the verge of the most incredible adventure it's possible to even comprehend. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 9, he says, "Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard," and get this, "neither has it entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for them that love him." So I just want you to get a little bit excited. I'm not saying get excited about the fact that you're going to be on the next bus, but if we're not careful, we do get down, and we do have a little sense of unease. But in reality, what is awaiting us is the greatest adventure that it's possible to describe. Eye hath not seen nor ear heard. You know, perhaps that's why, you remember Brother Bohr, we used to sing, "I'll fly away, oh glory," and he was dancing around up on the platform there. He was almost looking as though he wanted some air in his wings. Why? Because what is down here is the tent, but up there's a building not made for me with human hands. And So I'm not announcing that I'm on the next bus. I'm not doing anything other than to get you to realize, boy, we are privileged. We have an adventure awaiting us that eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, and yeah, I've got lots of other reasons to look forward to that day. But until that day, I'm just thrilled. But I want you to also join me in looking at what is coming, and unless the Lord comes back in our lifetime, and if he does, well, that's going to be an adventure too, right? Wow, I'm going up to meet him in the clouds. I pray it happens. But if it doesn't, I pray that we'll all have that sense of expectation and that sense of excitement and that sense of adventure that, Lord, you've gone to prepare a place for me, and I can't wait to see it. So how about you? How about you? Well, I love you. It's Wednesday, and tomorrow, well, be Thursday. I'll talk to you again then. All right, God bless. You have a great day. Bye-bye.